Bye bye. And we are live.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's talk. We're going to be talking about the things we wish we knew when sort of entering the motion industry. I am here with Alex. My name is Maxwell, and we run a studio called Kingdom of Something. You want to say hi, Alex?
Hello, everyone.
So we got about 30 minutes, give or take, and we're going to go through some things that hopefully will help you land that first internship and job. So a little bit about the mentality around it, some do's and don'ts, some of the mistakes that we did, and also what we look for when we take in people and hire people. So to give you guys some context of what we do as a studio, we put together this grid instead of a reel, just to give you guys some context of the type of work we do. We're foremost a motion design studio, so we are quite wide with our work. So we do anything from plain motion design to flat to mixed mediums, some stop motion stuff, frame by frame, the works. A lot of global brands and a lot of social stuff. But enough about that. Here's some screenshots from our website. Give you guys a better idea of the type of work we do. But enough about us. To give you some more context on the industry as a whole and where we fit into that, because a lot of the things that we're going to be going through is from our subjective opinion and from our experience, and it may very much differ in different parts of the animation industry. So you have sort of what I like to call the long form, which is feature films like Pixar, Disney, and also TV series like you would see on Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon, also on Netflix nowadays. And then you have anything around short form, which is the realm sort of we work in, where motion design, which obviously can be used in long form, in form of VFX and stuff like that. But it's usually shorter form, around tops 3 minutes most of the time, down to a lot of social content that's around 10 seconds, 20, 30 seconds. And that can be, 3D, 2D. It's a lot more graphical heavy. And a lot of UI stuff is also included in there. And then you have also other things that are more generated, so experimental, generated art, and those things. But we work within mostly the advertisement world, so short form. So looking at the motion industry, we wanted to get a little bit of an overview on this before we go in. We've been in it for quite a while. It's a quite new industry and field of work. It's been around since possibly around the 80s, but it wasn't really a big thing until the last pretty much 10 years. So when we sort of joined this industry and started studying motion design, it was pretty much unheard of. You would tell your friends and they would not know what you're talking about. Where now, today, you can see companies like Google, Apple, they have really gone in and made motion a part of their branding. where you can see how Google is very playful, how Apple is very clean and smooth. So motion design has grown tremendously. And I mean, everything needs to move. Everything moves on Instagram. I think somebody once told me that moving content performs 30% better than still. I mean, you even see movie posters being animated today. So it is a constantly growing field. The more screens we have, and it's really exciting. It's really interesting to see how it's maturing and where it's heading. So really interesting field. What is interesting is that there's a lot more people joining the motion design field, or are able to do it as it's becoming more and more popular. And it also means that the sort of level is going up. Alex and I were discussing this earlier, that it is something to keep in mind, that the competition is a lot bigger than it used to be back in the day. So an example of that is about, let's say, 5-7 years ago, you would have, which was still quite early in the rise, in my opinion, the rise of motion design as, how would you say it, Alex? Like more mainstream, in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so about 5 years ago, you would see a lot of people. It was also the illustration style. We see on the left-hand side some of our earlier work, where it's a lot of very geometrical shapes. And that was really nice, because it's also a very conscious choice, because it's very animation friendly. It's very easy to work with those shapes, and you can really concentrate on getting the movement right and build character around movement rather than the design. And I think that's a really good place to start from. I think all design should be built from simple shapes and upwards. But what we're seeing is a trend towards more and more complex design, especially if you want to stand out and people want to build a little bit more of their own personality. So on the right-hand side, you see a little bit of our later work, where you can see it's still clean characters, clean shapes, but there's a lot more detail. There's a little bit more personality in it. But that also means that it's a little bit harder to animate. So that's a little bit of a part of that, how it's a bit, almost maybe a little bit difficult to get into the industry.
And also, I would also just want to add something here. Also, like, that will mean, if this is true, that the gap between being a designer and an animator would increase, and it could maybe justify specializing in a field.
Yeah, I mean, let me actually take that back. I mean, maybe it's not necessarily harder to get into the industry. I think it's just actually grown. I think because it's growing so much, there's so much of a bigger need for it. I think this is just an evolution where it's actually broadening out, where people wouldn't be a bit afraid of animating really detailed characters, because of the time it would take to make that look good. One thing that we've seen that has been really, really growing in the industry is the need for frame-by-frame animation. So we're seeing a big growth in sort of a crossover of those traditional animation techniques and them being used in very simple motion graphic projects. And those are ways, I would almost argue that this is what would set apart a okay studio to the studios that do really, really good work. It's the ability of creating fluid character movements that you're not able to do with just by being restricted by the shapes. So on the right-hand side here, you can see these are designed characters that we've animated in After Effects, but we have actually gone in. One of our animators, Johanna, went in and did a quick frame-by-frame rough to get the movement right. And then we've actually molded those vector shapes in After Effects to that movement to get it really smooth and get that movement just right. Never stop learning. So there is a lot of things that go into motion design. I think there is so many different ways of learning. I mean, we see that in this quarantine as well. People going online and everything. And it's just really important to always keep growing. I mean, both Alex and I, everyone on our team, we constantly buy new tutorials and how-tos and online courses for the people on our team so that they can continuously grow, because it's important. If you want to be relevant and be on top of your game, you need to constantly be working better, because there are always going to be people that are also working on getting better. And if as soon as you stop, you're gonna become irrelevant.
Yeah.
So for these things, there's a lot of, I mean, something that we didn't have when we joined. I don't know what your experience is around this, Alex, but you know, today there's so many online courses like School of Motion or Skillshare that are quite affordable and can really help you level up your game, especially on par with normal school. Because where traditional schools, it's hard to update the curriculum as fast as the trends change, for example. But you also learn a lot of really important skills like how to collaborate with others, and also being liable to other people. I think those are things. Without that, you're going to become very difficult to work with if you don't know how to do those collaborations. Sorry. Anything you want to add there, Alex?
No, I think you summarized it pretty well. Yeah, never stop learning. So really important. And I think you're like kind of nailing it when you say that you become irrelevant, because I mean, trends will always evolve, and like you don't want to go like get off the train and be left on the station. So yeah,
A good way to stay motivated, I think.
absolutely.
I've noticed that for our team, how they feel really psyched when, especially if there's a really good lecture. I forget who the latest one is, but it's a classical animation course that a couple of our animators are doing right now, and it's this old, very charming guy, and you know they're stoked, and especially when it shows in our next project where those animations just look even slicker. They've applied some 3D skills that they've learned to whatnot. It's really nice to see that come to life. I'll let you go here, Alex.
Mean handover, for fuck's sake.
I feel like talking a lot.
No, but I mean, yeah, school versus reality. I feel like this was a big one for us going to Hyper Island. It's an amazing school, and you learn so much from your the people in your class. But what they don't teach you is that what's going on in school is not what really happens, or will not the way it will happen when you get out and start working.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to prepare for reality, but I think if there's one thing, I think that a lot of people do realize, but I also think that a lot of people don't, is that motion design, anything in the creative field, or anything really, it's a job. You're not going to love every moment, and especially in the beginning. It's a lot of stuff that we don't want to do. Not every project is a dream, super cool, fun project. A lot of them are not that much fun to work on. And it's a lot of re-rendering and client feedback and things like that. And I think that's just a really good thing to keep in mind going in, because that's something that can affect your motivation. It's just knowing that it's going to be a job that you hopefully enjoy doing, at least some of the time. I would call that a win. But we tend to enjoy it most of the time, I'd say.
Yeah. And also one thing in school is like use the time and also have fun, and don't make it too serious. Like use the school to play around with things and try things, because that's most likely gonna go away and when you get a job. Brands, they already had their style guides set, and it needs to look in a certain way. They just need someone that is good at animating to do it. So yeah, I felt like when I went to school, a lot of fun was taken away by people taking it too serious. So enjoy the fun in school. It's going to be fun working as well, in a different way, I think. And yeah, just test the boundaries and what you can do.
Yeah, enjoy the fact that you don't have any clients telling you how to
Exactly.
do things.
And also, I think one of the biggest like changes for me was that when you work, it's a way faster pace. In school, you might have a project for 4 weeks, and you have a check-in once a week with the teachers. I don't know how this school works, but in reality, you could probably take 20% of the time you have now, and it needs to be perfect from the first draft that you share with the client. There's no real time. So that's gonna, I think, I suspect that's gonna be one of the biggest changes for you when you get out. And it might be good to have that in mind when you're in school, to maybe try and do things way faster than the time you've been given, and then use maybe the last 30% of the time you have to polish everything, if you have that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so for one of the main topics we want to talk about is how to get an internship / job. Alex tells me that I should never read out a title. So I think that's why he's...
No, you should always read out the title.
So here are some of the things that we wish that we knew back in our days. Looking back at it now, they seem super obvious, but we've both been there, desperately looking for an internship. I personally didn't even have one going into our internship period. But yeah, so we want to share some of our thoughts on do's and don'ts to hopefully make it a little bit easier for you guys. So first off, I think one of the main questions a lot of students ask themselves, or creatives, is, what makes a good portfolio? I don't think there's necessarily a the perfect answer to that, but I do think it definitely depends on where you are in your career. Obviously, a portfolio of somebody that has been working in the field for 10 years will look significantly different to somebody that is just entering the market. But for us, especially when it comes to internship applications, for example, a website is great, but I would almost say that your body of work is the most important thing. Sorry, we're getting some questions here on the side.
I can also just add that I think for me at least, when I get an email and a link to a portfolio, it needs to be easy to digest what's on the website. Just have make it easy for the person who goes there. Just show what needs to be shown, and then leave it at that. There's a thousand other things. I think we'll get to that later, that you can spend your time on than doing a website.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would almost say that for your first job, it could be good to have an updated website. But especially if it's an internship, I honestly, like Alex saying, it needs to be fast. So going on to a Instagram page or a Dribble page or anything really, and just getting a general understanding of your work is more than enough. And that together with a reel, that gives me, it's a fast way. I'm playing a video and I get to see a general overview of your work so far. That's all I need, right? Instead of having to navigate a website that's trying to be clever, trying to a bit too hard. Time is of the essence, and we're going to get to that.
How much time would you say that you think you spend on a website?
It depends on how well the website works.
Let's say the website works well and it has 3 menus in the top.
Maybe 2 minutes. That's the time you have, and that's the reality. I mean, that also comes to emails. We're going to go through that in a bit, but just one thing to keep in mind: other people's time is valuable. So try to get to the point as fast as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it is valuable, but it's also the reality is that both me and Maxwell, we probably have 20 other things that needs to be done this day, and it's not like we understand that a lot of time has been put into the work, but simply there's no time. And things need to happen fast, and as soon as we know what's on the website and what kind of style, and if that would maybe fit into our company and the people in the company, and maybe if we see any potential, then we'll dive further into the email or whatever has been sent over.
I would also say, just out of from a personal opinion, sometimes it scares me when I go in and there's one piece of work of each different style. That can be very worrying, because that means that you're most likely not comfortable in any of those things. So it's good to experiment and do some different things, but don't try to showcase that you can one thing of everything. I would much rather see 1 or 2 things that you've done multiple things on, because that actually shows that you have some practice doing that style or that type of animation. So might just a thought. I don't know if you agree, Alex.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I would say for me or for us, I think appreciate or looking for people that are a little bit more focused into some area rather than a scattered portfolio. It's
Yeah.
hard to tell what we're getting them.
So I just want to bring up just like a couple of things when making a reel. Again, might seem very, very obvious, but it's a mistake that I've seen a lot, and even in professionals and friends that have been in this industry for many, many years. So always start with some of your best work and always end with some of your best work. I would say try to keep it, always keep it interesting. So probably aim for around 30 seconds. If you're early in your career and your reel is more than 1 minute, you can probably cut it down. You know what I mean? You can prove your point in that short amount of time. And as soon as I press play, that first couple things I see that's gonna be your first impression, right? So I see that and go, oh, okay, it's not bad. And then you can have a couple things that are maybe not your best work, but still showcasing some of the stuff you can do. But then that last shot also needs to be a really nice showstopper, so that's the last thing I'm going to remember from your reel. So put in all your okay work in the middle, start and end with your best work.
Yeah, and also I think if you're applying for an internship, I mean, I don't think me and Maxwell would think that this person has that much work. I mean, if you come straight out of school, it doesn't need to be that much work. I think you're really nailing it when you say focus on the best, show it nice, quick, get the job done.
Yeah, I'd rather have a short reel than filling it with a bunch of shots of stuff that is not great. So when we receive an application, I think the GIF says it all here. So for the curriculum vitae, I think that, in the traditional sense, it is the main tool people use to apply for a job. In our field, because it is a visual medium, it is significantly less relevant. So should you send one? Absolutely. Should you worry about it? No. Like we go in, we open the CV and look at it, and it's interesting to see, some of your work experience. Have you had a job outside of the industry? What's your journey? It's an interesting, just general overview, but it's not going to make or break something.
No.
Like,
and also sometimes I use it just to locate the person where they are, because usually it says the country they're in or language they speak. That could be of interest. But
and also same thing here. Keep it short. Don't personally don't add an extra like personal letter. Write that in the email, and then we can get to know each other later on.
Yeah.
I can promise you, if you send us an A4 page, we won't read it. There's not a chance. So keep it short, keep it relevant. So what's a good email? This is an important one.
This is
Alex's favorite.
Yeah, it's good. I'll continue. Go.
I think that the one of the biggest things here, the biggest don't, never copy and paste an email. It is super obvious if you have done that, and all it tells us or whoever receives it is that we're just one of 30, 50, 100 studios or companies that you've sent this to. Yeah. And if you couldn't spend more than the 30 seconds of pasting it in, replacing agency or studio name, and sending that off, if you spent 30 seconds on trying to get an internship, why should we spend more than 30 seconds going through your work and, you know, spend our time trying to figure out who you are? So just, yeah, make it personal. Always make sure to, let me see. Yeah, keep it short. We have another slide about personal. That's why I paused there.
But how long do you think like an email should be, Maxwell? What should they start with?
That's a good question. I think they should start with why am I reading this email? You know, give me context. Hi, I'm looking for an internship, and tell me why. You know,
I think maybe a good start could also be maybe just some flattering. That always works.
Yeah.
To just be like, maybe not even waste. You want to grab the attention first. So maybe just say, saw your work on this and this platform. This scene here, I cannot get my head around how you guys did this. Like, if someone writes that to me, I'm gonna be like, who? Who is this emailing me about what we do?
Yeah, and I think that also like leads into like why. It also helps understand. So, hey, I really find your style or your type of work, and you can write that in a generic email as well, and we will tell.
Yeah.
But it also helps to understand like, oh, okay, this person is actually really genuinely interested of joining us as a company, and it's because they inspire to create similar work, or they are interested in that type of work. It's not, that also helps us understand that we're not going to be wasting our time. This is somebody that is clearly invested in, wants to join our team and has the motivation to do so. And also, again, seems like an obvious thing, but include all the relevant information in that first email. Again, keep it short. We don't need to know everything about you. If your work is interesting and the timings and everything are in line, then we'll, you know, we can talk more. We usually always just jump on a call, even if, you know, the timings aren't right. We always like to jump on a call with people and get to know them.
Well, Maxwell, when you say keep it short, like how short is short for you in an email?
I'm not sure to what metrics I should answer.
How many
that.
paragraphs do you read before you have archived the email and moved on with your day?
I mean, I would say three segments of maybe 4 sentences each. So I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to that, but is it information that you need to share? Some of it needs to be just some general chit chat, but I would just generally try to keep it short. Include all the information.
Maybe keep it, or like go straight to the point. Is a good thing to add.
I think that's a good way to put it. And again, the key information is like, when do you want to start, especially for an internship? You know, when does it start? For how long? Is it flexible? Are you able to, between this period, are you able to move it up? Those things help us to just directly know, oh, okay, cool. We're actually looking to have somebody during the summer or this coming fall. Otherwise, we then have to jump in, write an email, hey, cool, but what time and blah. And again, it's just an extra step that you are removing from the equation by including that in your initial email.
And also saving our time or the person that you're emailing, basically saying or acknowledging that their time is valuable and you're not wasting their time.
We're going to actually look at a really good email. And This guy actually applied for a job as a producer with us a couple months ago. Steven, I believe his name was, and he sent us this picture where he photoshopped himself into a knight's armor, and already there you're showing him a lot of personality. You know, we're super keen on having a conversation with this guy, regardless of his qualifications. I'm going to jump on a call with this guy and give him a chance to tell us more. I'm going to read a couple of segments from this. So, Dear Kingdom, once upon a time in a town not so far from Amsterdam lived a brave knight called Stephen Broughton. Legends say he's the best producer of them all. So that is the reason the kingdom did call. By internet, they reached out to whoever might read. So Sir Stephen rushed to it on his horse to the kingdom in need. The king said, "Welcome to Kingdom of Something. Please help us out. We need problem solving." "Do not worry, dear king. With your table so round, please look no further because your brave knight is found." So he is almost putting words in our mouth that he is the one we've been looking for through this mystical, old-timey, saga-like language.
Which tied back to our branding. And it basically took parts of our branding here, needs problem solving. If you go to our website, that's the first thing you see on our website. And I mean, how could you not have a chat with this guy after this? I mean, it's impossible.
Yeah, like he's clearly thought about this and is motivated enough to spend the time doing this, and that will get you so far.
This would be hard to copy paste to another studio.
Yeah. Yes, we definitely talked to him. He didn't get the job, but we definitely talked to him. Really awesome dude. So make it personal. Follow-up emails or calls, for that matter. It's something that I realized now personally as an owner how much I actually appreciate this. And as a student or a junior, when I was looking for my first internship, I was terrified of being annoying or being naggy or seem desperate. So I would sort of send out an email and I would wait weeks and hope that they would get back to me, and a lot of them didn't. And something that I really realized now is that I actually really appreciate when somebody sends me a reminder email going, "Hey, I'm sure you're busy, but did you see my email? I reached out to you guys a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Have you had a chance to check out my work? Would love to jump on a call." I love that because the honest truth is there's so many things going on. There's projects, there's clients, and there's meetings that, reading and going through internship or work portfolios or applications often is one of the lowest priorities we have. And it's whenever we have time to do it. So when we get an email on a busy day, there's a high chance that's going to, fall between the cracks. We do our best to sort of put reminders on them and stuff like that to make sure that we get back to it. But it's very easy that those things get missed. So whenever somebody sends us a reminder email, maybe right at that moment, I have those 15 minutes to spare, and it's actually really appreciated. So don't worry about looking desperate or being annoying. If anything, it almost shows extra motivation, and I feel like feels determination. You really, really want to be here with us. Your motivation is on point.
Well, Maxwell, if like you said, what you can write when you're reaching out, I thought it was really great. But like the frequency of these emails, what would you say? What's the line between showing motivation and being annoying?
I would say max once a week. And anything more than that, it would be annoying. But yeah, I would say after the first one, maybe 2 weeks, a week.
And how many times?
I would say 3.
3. I would say, 3 or 4.
3, 4.
And maybe the last one.
You go as many times as it needs, because somebody will get back to you. If somebody has emailed me 3 times, on the 3rd time, I will make sure to let that person know if it's relevant or not. Like, then I will definitely get back to them. So I wouldn't say there's a maximum amount of times, to be honest.
Or maybe, yeah. When I follow up with people I want to talk to, and this happens in the last one, maybe the 4th or 5th email, I can write, okay, we haven't got I haven't heard from you yet. I won't reach out after this, but I really wanted to talk to you.
Yeah.
And try and look at that, because a lot of times there's some, I don't have the statistics now, but it is like the amount of percentage of replies you get after the 2nd, 3rd, or even 4th email, like the percentage of getting a reply, the chances of getting a reply is so much higher than email once and sitting home like this and waiting.
Yeah.
So
follow up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we already touched upon this. Make sure to explain why you want to work there. As Alex says, emailing is an art form.
And I think this is suitable in the first paragraph of an email. Everyone loves getting compliments.
Yeah, definitely. Remember to know where you're applying. So there's a couple things here. A lot of people ask us, should I be focusing a little bit wider, or should I be focusing on more of a niche skill set? And I think that very much depends on where you want to work and where you end up. Quite frankly, personally, I wanted to work at a small studio and get my hands on, from start to finish of a project. But I actually ended up in the beginning of my career at one of the biggest production companies, and that worked out great. But yeah, at a smaller studio, you need to, it's a lot more valuable. Like, we are 6 people. We find it extremely valuable that the people on our team have multiple skill sets, that somebody can jump in and design something and also animate it. Where at a bigger studio, or company, you tend to have more niche roles. So you have people doing illustration, and they're really, really great at it. And then you have people doing animation because they're really, really great at it. And you also have people that are in between, but it becomes a little bit more niched. You would never really sit with a sound edit because there's a sound guy for that. So it depends a little bit where you want to go. Yeah. Almost last but not least, portfolio has a huge weight on what we look for. The skill set needs to be there. It needs to be relevant, because at the end of the day, it's going to cost us a lot of time to get people up on speed, and time from the rest of the team as well. So you need to have a good base, at least for us. We really value that you come in already with a pretty strong portfolio. But equally as important is also your personality and drive. At the end of the day, it's people that we all have to work with, and having the right positivity and attitude and drive will get you really, really, really far. The last animator we hired, he joined us as an intern. And in all honesty, his animation work wasn't super impressive. He was quite early on, but he was well into his 30s and had quit his job. He had spent a year at home working on getting better and better at illustration and animation, and he just had a drive and positivity around it that you rarely see. And that motivation is something that motivated us to just take him onto the team.
Mm.
So,
Also, I mean, you can teach also anyone any skill, but changing a person's behavior or attitude or energy, that requires way more energy from us as well.
yeah,
And I would, yeah,
I
I
mean,
would say this is almost one of the biggest points, at least for me, when I'm talking to someone. If they have a lot of energy to share with me and my team, uh, the rest will like follow. It won't be a problem.
yeah, I mean, we've actually let people go that are extremely talented animators, but just lacked motivation and drive, and that's also part of our job to make sure that they're motivated. But when you have somebody that's for example, just complaining about the work and not really coming with solutions, it becomes it affects the whole team, and ultimately those things weigh very heavily.
Mm. And also, I think a lot of clients come to us to make it more appealing and to put our energy into their work and make it more fun and more everything basically. And a lot of times, but sometimes it is not the most funniest brands or most colorful stuff. But that's also why they're coming to us, and that's why we need to have that on our team to be able to give that to our clients as well.
Yeah. So last slide before we go into some of the Q&A. One thing I'd highly recommend is you find mentors. And honestly, don't be afraid of reaching out to people. I mean, we live in a world of Instagram and people that you just admire. It's just people just like you or me or anyone else. Everyone loves to get a message going, "Hi, I really love your work. I'm just starting off, and I would love to ask you how you got a job, or if you could mentor me and feedback on my animations."
Mm.
I'm sure
It's important, Maxwell, to not like ask the person to marry you on the first outreach, like you said there. Like start with the smaller question, maybe can you review my work, and then slowly get there. But
I think you need to feel that out. I think you could very well send an email and say, "Hey, I think I like your work. I'm looking for somebody to mentor me." Because quite frankly, people love feeling appreciated, and if it's somebody that has been working in the field for say a year or two, they were just very recently where you guys are right now, and sort of entering the field, to feel the sense of, oh yeah, I've been there, here's some tips that I can give you, or hey, this animation, maybe if you think about trying this effect or this and that. People love to feel appreciated like that. So really find a mentor to help navigate through the field and get into the industry and keep those connections, because connections and your network and your classmates, those are the people that are going to help you find jobs in the future.
mm-hmm.
That's all the slides we have. We are going to go through some of the questions. We've seen some of
I
you.
have them here. Should I read them for you?
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
I can moderate you.
Perfect.
So, which advice would you give for a student for a job interview?
Let me
Do you
stop
want to go, or should I? I have an answer for this, I think.
here. Yeah, go. No, you.
I will moderate myself then. So for me, we touched upon this subject or a little bit. I did mention it earlier, and I talked about like the energy that the person brings to the table, and that's the that's the person I want to meet when they come into our office or jump on a video call. Someone that is excited and like hungry to learn and can help us evolve. And yeah, so I would say that's one of the most important things for me in an interview. And that's also in the past when I've been going to work job interviews, that's how I try to perceive myself also. Being excited and not just leaving the questions up to the person that you're meeting, but also it's like a mutual relationship that's happening here. They are hiring you, but you're also gonna work there, and you should have. Like I would be impressed if the person comes and have equally as many questions for me. How do we work? When do you start? Like what's yeah, what kind of clients do you have, and
I
how
mean,
is
as
the
long as
Friday feeling? Huh?
so I'm just like, as long as it's not an interrogation, I think there's a fine line, as long as the questions are asked in a very positive manner.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think just positivity, like a positive attitude. That
Yeah,
that's all I would say. Just
yeah. And I mean, if it's an internship, it differs a little bit from a job. Um, I would say an internship, it's a more forgiven situation to be in. We don't expect you, as we mentioned earlier, also to have like a full-on portfolio. We need just to see a little bit of potential and positive drive.
Yep.
Sweet. Should I
uh,
ask next question?
yeah, go. Sorry,
Would
I'm like,
you recommend to specialize in a field or to work more in a general area?
I would say there's no right or wrong answer to that. I would probably try to specialize a little bit, and then branch out. If you do a little bit of everything, then you can't really do anything properly, most likely. So it's better to be able to do one or a couple few things and find your place with that and grow from there, rather than being too general. But it's also dangerous being too narrow. So it's hard to say.
If
Find a
you're too
balance.
narrow, maybe you should really know where you want to go.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Like
And
if you want to get into 3D rendering, lighting, maybe you should like go for companies that only do these kind of things and they value this specific skill super much compared to a small studio like us. Then it's more valuable to be strong in one field, but then we can evolve the other fields necessary later on.
yeah, I'd say like, keep it 2D in general with some different, maybe a little bit of UI and some characters and whatnot, but maybe don't go one frame by frame illustrated animation and cell animation, some 2D, some 3D, some video clips. Don't go all over the place. Stay within a certain category and grow from there.
Okay, next one. What would you recommend to do first for a student who just finished his or her studies?
First, I would make sure that you have the most badass portfolio and work possible, and find a mentor. Talk to people in the industry. I mean, again, you're not alone. It's a really hard time to navigate. So I would reach out to people, get feedback on your portfolio, ask what's missing, what could be better, if something needs to be removed. And yeah, I would. It's a vague question, but I would get your portfolio going, and then just start reaching out to any place that you find interesting.
Mm. And also when reaching out, I mean, it could be a longer process. I love it when people keep in contact over like every 6 months, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh shit, this person has been emailing us for 2 years. Yeah, maybe we should take a call with them. The portfolio is really evolving nicely. So it could be just, it doesn't need to be a closure every person or studio that you reach out to. It could also be an ongoing conversation that you just share. Here's my latest work every 6 months. I think you do as well. We talk about this a lot, and we really appreciate that. And a lot of times when we talk to people, like, this is really nice. Please keep us updated. We'd love to speak to you in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
Next one. Do you recommend to accept the first job even if it's not a good one? That's a good question. I like it.
A good one. I think it depends on what you want to do. I think if it will help you get to where you're trying to go, then absolutely. I also think that it depends on who you are as a person. If you're good at staying motivated and sort of, let me put it like this: I'm a person that I wouldn't necessarily sit and work on my skills by myself. I've been lucky enough to, I wouldn't have the discipline to do that. So for me, if I would end up at a place that might not be pushing me work-wise, that for my personality type might not be the best place, because then you might just end up standing still. You might end up getting a little bit too comfortable, and that might prevent you from growing and getting to where you originally wanted to be. But if you're able to, work on your craft, assuming that this first job is not your dream job or something that you're really excited over. But if you're able to work on your craft and keep polishing and pushing, then by all means, because you're always going to learn something. You're going to learn professionalism. You're going to learn how to deal with feedback and clients and stuff like that. And those things are extremely important. So as a simple answer, I would say yes. Just be careful about not getting stuck.
Yeah, I would say the same for sure. And where I come from, a job is a job, and I don't know. I'm probably a little bit older than people listening here, but if if I don't have any other job on the table, a job will give me an income. And also, one thing now that I'm starting to think about is the jobs that has been the most shitty jobs that I have is the ones that have forced me in a different direction. Um, you're never gonna find only have jobs where you enjoy it and stay there forever. I think the boring ones are the ones that defines you even more and helps you define your goal. You might not want to go in that direction, but then at least okay, this is where I'm gonna not go, the next door that opens. And also, like in the worst jobs that I had, that's where I'm like also learning what type of like environments I want to be in. Like, is the boss not so nice? Next time I see that personality in another boss that I might be interviewing with, I can sound that alarm and be like, yeah, I've been through this already. I don't need to do this again. So I think a not so good one in this question could probably help a lot. And yeah, to me, I mean, if you have a job, take it.
Cool. I'll ask the next one to you.
Oh, no.
Pat, the turtle. What would you recommend to work abroad when finishing school?
I think this one, it needs to go back to you as a person. I would say, yeah, when I left my hometown, I was really extrovert, and I needed to get out from that city. And it doesn't really didn't have to do that much with like work. It was more me as a person needs to do something. And I think this ties back a little bit to uh, what do you want to look back on when you're older. Are you okay with staying in the same city 95% of your life and not traveled and met new people? Of course, you could do that in your hometown, but you tend not to. Or are you comfortable with staying, or do you want to go? And it's only a matter of what do you want to look back to when you're older, I think.
I would say, I mean, simply put, yeah, it's a personal choice, but also, you know, it's going to help. In my experience, it helps you to stay motivated on work because you're outside of your comfort zone. You probably moved abroad to focus on your career, so that actually can be a catalyst. But again, I think it just comes down to if you want to or not. There's no right or wrong answer to that. But if in this industry, yeah, the possibilities are definitely there. There are no borders, so go for it.
I would say this would be one of my top 3 choices I've done in life, for me at least, to have moved abroad. And I would recommend it. It's really fun. You learn how to grow up really fast and take care of yourself, and you get so many new friends. And if you have the possibilities to do it, like, do it.
All right, we're going over the hour now, so let's try to keep our answers a little bit short for the next ones.
Yeah.
We're almost done. Which websites and blogs do you suggest to follow and to always be updated on trends in animation news? I would say there's no real one place for that. Motionographer is a old classic. If you don't check out Motionographer yet, do it. They do articles and stuff like that. So in terms of like staying updated,
Are they still up and running?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But I would say there's a lot of really good Instagram accounts that actually collect and repost, in a sense, or post other artists' work. So I'm sure you guys can Google that. Otherwise, just reach out and check with us, and we can share a list of them. But yeah, I would say a lot of Instagram, Motionographer. Yeah.
I mean, latest trends, I would say, Dribble for design at least.
Yeah, Dribble for sure. There's a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. What else do we got?
Website to look for motion jobs. I don't know. It was too long ago.
No, I've looked into this a little bit recently. For example, in the Netherlands, there are a couple of specific ones. I think Glassdoor might have it.
What did you say? What was the name of it?
Glassdoor. But honestly, I think that's it. There's no proper bigger one global, and for Spain, honestly, I wouldn't know. Yeah, no, I don't. I don't have a good one for that, to be honest. Yeah, sadly.
Next one. The scenery has changed nowadays. Do you think remote working will be more frequent now? If so, how would you suggest to find remote jobs? I think we haven't even seen the start of remote working.
I think in our industry, it's remote working is quite common because animation is one of those things that you can do remotely, and we actually do work with people quite frequently remotely. However, there is a risk factor to that. So, for example, if we're going to work with somebody remotely, I would say personally, I would need them to be a little bit more. They've been working in the field for a fair amount of time because you are on your own. It's hard to give animation direction and sitting down with things that I, for example, do a lot with our juniors. You sit down, you talk about, okay, this is what I meant with feedback, and you can actually work back and forth a lot more to get the work to where it needs to be. Where if you're working with somebody that's more junior on a remote basis, I'm going to get that animation update in the afternoon, and it might be completely wrong, or it might not be where it needs to be, or the movements not right, and you just waste a lot of time, and it causes a lot of frustration. So I would say earlier in your career, I would highly recommend to work with people physically as much as you can. And then, later on, when people trust you, absolutely, remote work is not a problem. But I don't really see that changing due to the current situation a lot. It's obviously going to follow the trends, but yeah.
I can only say I totally agree with everything.
I don't know if we have any other questions. If you guys do have any other questions, feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to help any of you in any way we can. If you have any questions on or want feedback on your portfolios, just reach out. Patricia has our email. You can also find them on our website, kingdomsomething.com. I realized.
I was like,
but yeah, thank you so much. It's been a blast. We went a little bit over time, so forgive us for that. And yeah, have a great week, everyone.
Yeah, thanks. Bye-bye.